So today I'm talking about a P0036 code, what it is and how you go about fixing it. So what is a P0036 code? Well, it's an HO2S heater control circuit bank 1 sensor 2. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer has sensors located on the exhaust, and they do two things. The first thing they do is they monitor how much oxygen was burnt off during combustion, and then they use this information to adjust the air-fuel ratio mixture going into the engine. And then the second thing they do is they also have heater elements built in, and these do a few things. They help the whole system go into what's called a closed loop quicker, and they also monitor the catalytic converter, since when the catalytic converter heats up too much, it's a sign that it's failing. And V6 or V8 engines, they have two banks. Bank 1 is always the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder, and then the opposite of that is bank 2. So if you find the number 1 cylinder, that side of the engine is going to be bank 1, and sensor 2 is going to be the second sensor going down on that side. And some possible causes of a P0036 code, well, it could be a bad sensor, could be in the wiring like an open or short, and possibly a blown fuse. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go locate bank 1 sensor 2 oxygen sensor. And there can be some differences, so it's always a good idea to go get a diagram for your particular vehicle, year, engine type, and things like this, since it just makes it easier. For example, this is a 2007 Camry with a 3.5 liter V6, and as you can see, bank 1 sensor 2 is going to be right here, and it'll be located after the catalytic converter. And the basics of what's going on with these oxygen sensors is that sensor 1 is going to be located before the catalytic converter. It's going to be called the upstream oxygen sensor. And then sensor 2 is going to be located after the catalytic converter, and it's going to be called the downstream oxygen sensor. And like I said, these sensors are doing two things. They have a heater side and they have an oxygen sensor side. And so what you do is you go examine the wiring, and the two wires with the same color, like these two black ones right here, that's going to be going to the heater element inside of here. And then the mismatch wires are going to be going to the oxygen sensor side of the sensor. So in this example, these two black wires will be going to the heater side, and this blue and white wire would be for the oxygen sensor side. Here's another example. These two white wires would be going to the heater element side of the sensor, and this gray and black wire would be going to the oxygen sensor side. So basically you just find the same two matched wires, like these two white ones, disconnect your harness so that you can get to these pins, and then you use a meter to measure the resistance going across those two pins. And you can basically think of it like a light bulb that once it's burnt out, it's bad. So basically you're just checking to make sure that it still has resistance, otherwise it's burnt out and it's not working. So you set your meter to ohms, it'll be the little ohm symbol, and you just measure your resistance going across those two wires and see if you're getting anything. If you're not getting anything, the meter won't change, it'll just stay on low. But if you are getting something, it'll change, and it'll show you what the resistance is in ohms. You can look up the rated spec sheet for your particular oxygen sensors to see if it matches that. Since it can vary so much, it could be anywhere from like 3 ohms all the way up to like 25 ohms. So you can look up the spec sheet for them if you wanted to be sure that they're correct. But basically, usually if they're not burnt out, that means that it should still be working. And so if you do check it and it's not burnt out or nothing like that, then the next thing to go and check is be sure that there's no blown fuses. There'll be a fuse box usually inside the engine compartment that these sensors will be on. Again, you have to check for your particular vehicle since there can be some differences. For example, this is a 2005 Toyota Tacoma, and as you can see right here, AF heater. That would be the fuse for these. And this one also has a relay that's labeled AF heater. And if any one of these went bad, then it would cause issues. So that's something to go check. Be sure you don't have no blown fuses and possibly a relay. If you are measuring this and it stays at low and it doesn't show no resistance, then it is burnt out and it just needs to be replaced. And basically at that point, when it is burnt out, replacing it will usually just solve the issue, and that would be it. One thing to keep in mind with these O2 sensors is that sometimes they require a special tool to get around that wire and to get them back in. Not all the time. Sometimes you can get to them without the special tool, like with an open-end wrench or something. It's really going to vary. But it's a good idea to go and look at it and be sure you got the right tools to get it back in and get around that wire, because sometimes they do require this special tool to get it back in. I'll put a link down below to show you what I'm talking about if you need to see what that tool is. But basically at this point, replacing that O2 sensor, especially if it's burnt out, will likely solve the problem. And so that's basically it. I just wanted to do a video on how do you go about fixing a P0036 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.